Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls online build video for this Friday the 13th, as it is an excellent day. So this is my attempt at a werewolf PvP build, and I say attempt because I've never made a PvP build before, but I did my best and I hope you guys like it. I kind of messed around with it a little bit. I didn't get to do any PvP because there's nobody in Cyrodiil, but I did run around in Cyrodiil and tried it out a little bit, and it's pretty good for what it does. Not gonna lie. So I don't have a name for this one, unfortunately. You guys can call it whatever you want. It's just a werewolf PvP build. So if you want to play this, it's up to you. Again. So let's go ahead and take a look at the stats. As you can see, we're rocking a 12k Magicka, 25k health, 35k stamina. We are an Orc Dragon Knight for this. You can be any class you really want for the build, and race, you know, that's up to you. But I just like the Orc because of the extra weapon damage, the 4% melee damage it gets, and it does apply to the werewolf form, so it's kind of nice. We do have a low weapon critical, but that's okay. In Cyrodiil, you don't really need that much crit if you know, all the time. So 30-something, 38% when you have your potion going isn't bad. Our weapon damage is 37,000 or 3,763. That is all the time. And I'll get to why in a second. As you can see, we have 18k spell resistance with a 15k physical resistance. We do have a 2k crit resist, which is kind of nice. It's a nice space to be. Around 2k is good, especially if you're in heavy armor. You don't need as much crit resist in heavy armor as you do other sets, and I'll explain why I have this set up this way. We do have major brutality all the time because we are running Druid Kingslayer. We have the Warrior Mundus Stone, which gives us extra weapon damage. We are a werewolf, of course, and then of course we are using the Lava Foot Soup and Salt Rice. The reason I chose this one was because it gives you so much recovery. 4,000 or 457 recovery with the 4,000 stamina, and you kind of want to have a good stamina pool. That's why I went for around 35k. So let's go take a look over here what we have going on. So we are using, like I said, that drink, if I can find it, or the food here, the Lava Foot Soup and Salt Rice. You don't have to use this if you don't want to. I like to use it. I like this. I think it's a really good food for PvP. I am using the Warrior pots here. They give you major brutality, they give you weapon damage. You don't really need to worry about the weapon major savagery because you have it all the time, but the weapon crit and the extra resources is nice. The stam recovery is really good on this. Going into the gear, we are running the Vulcan Scoria set. This is just good because it has a good range on it. It doesn't fire all the time, but when it does, it hits like a beast, and it does fire damage over time, so it's kind of a nice setup. We are running a medium helm with a light shoulders here so we can get the Undaunted passive. I really don't like using Vulcan Scoria myself, but a lot of people like it, and so I chose it because a lot of people like to use it in PvP, so that's why I chose this. We are running a 5-piece Druid Kingslayer, like I said. This is for all that weapon damage that it gives. As you can see, it gives us 2 things of weapon damage, and then on top of that it gives us major brutality all the time. I kind of like this set. I really do. It's a fun set to use in PvP. So, and it's easy to get in this setup in the game. I am running 4 Impenetrable on the smaller pieces, and on the big pieces I'm running Divine, so I can get that a little bit of extra weapon damage out of the Warrior Mundus Stone. Like I said, you don't need a lot of Impen, so this 2,089 is good for this build. Moving on to the jewelry. The jewelry is a little different. We are running the Hulking Drugars set, and Hulking Drugars just gives you a ton of stamina. As you can see, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces all stamina. We are running 2 infused rings here with jewelry enchant or weapon damage enchants, and then on the 3rd one we are running a Tri-Rune for the extra stats. We do need a little bit of extra Magicka, and it gives us a little bit more health. That's how we get that 25k health there. And we get that 12k Magicka. Because we are a Dragon Knight, we use a few Magicka abilities, so having that there kind of helps out. Running down to the weapons now, we are running a Nirnhone two-handed with a decrease health enchant or an oblivion enchant on it if you don't want to run the poisons that I chose here. The trapping poisons. Trapping poisons are really good because it immobilizes people and it reduces their movement speed for 6 seconds, so it's kind of a nice way to keep them locked down when you're in PvP. PvP is all about CCing and stuff, so you want to keep them as close to you as possible, and this just gives you a way of doing that, the trapping poisons. But if not, oblivion damage works out great. On the back bar, we are using a bow with a weapon damage enchant. This is just to give us a boost on our front bar when we're, you know, using our two-handed. When we're just using melee and stuff, we're not in werewolf form. The bow and two-handed work out really well. The reason I chose two-handed is because it gives you the highest amount of weapon damage with a singular weapon. In PvP, it can help out really well. So I chose this to give us that greater boost in weapon damage. We can get to about a 4k weapon damage, and then when we're in werewolf form, we go almost 5k weapon damage, which is crazy. So, but that's the gear, and like I said, you can choose what gear sets you want to use. It's really up to you, but you really want to go for about a 25k health on this build, because when you go werewolf, you get extra health, so it makes you beefier. The max stamina, usually I try to go for about 32 to 40k, somewhere in there, on stamina when I'm in PvP. And then on my weapon damage, I always try to get around 4k, so. Crit, not really, like I said, a big concern, so. And then, of course, with my crit resist, I always go around 2k, personally. Doesn't matter if I'm light, medium, heavy. I always try to get around 2k. So that's that. Let's go ahead and take a look at the skills. And just to let you guys know, make sure you fill out all the passives on your class, because you never know. And on your weapons as well. And if you choose you want to use sword and board, dual wield, whatever, make sure you just get those passives. On the armor, make sure you get the top 3 passes of the light armor. Medium armor, you want the top 2, or the top 3 and the bottom 1. The reason you want the bottom 1 is for that roll dodge reduction, and the reduced movement speed is really good for sprinting. Heavy armor, all the passives. And then onto the world skills. Werewolf, get all the passives, and make sure you fill out the skills like the way I have them set up, which we'll take a look at here in a minute. Going over the guilds, Fighters Guild, make sure you get all the passives. Mages Guild, you just need Persuasive Will, and that's just requesting. Undaunted, get the Undaunted passive. Alliance War, get the Alliance passives. Don't worry about the skills, like you don't have to have them as long as you have the passives that can help you out. Racial, get all the passives, and then of course on here, Alchemy, you want the medicinal use, and then on provisioning, you definitely want the Gourmand and Connoisseur, so, especially in PvP. So now that we've seen those, let's go over the skills. On the front bar, it's kind of an unusual setup here. Not something I usually run, but it's something I like for PvP. So, Empowering Chains, this allows you to pull yourself to your enemies, and then it gives you Empower on 2 empowers, so your next 2 light attacks get 40% more damage. It just helps for quick burst, and it's just a good way to get to your enemies really fast. So Empowering Chains is really good for that. Next, we have Dizzying Swing. This is great for knockbacks and knocking enemies out of their abilities. So I usually do this and then hit them with this and then hit them with my light attack while they're in the air. So next up, we have Noxious Breath. This applies Major Fracture. This is great in PvP. Because you want to get through those resistances, so this helps you get through those resistances. Also, as you can see, it does a decent amount of damage over time. Next, we have Executioner Strike. Of course, always have an Execute in PvP. It's always good to burst those enemies down as fast as you can. Next, we have Rally. A lot of people don't like using other things, but I like Rally because of the burst heal it can give you, and it gives you a nice heal over time, even though in PvP the heals are reduced, as you can see. But if you let Rally run its course and then you heal again, you can heal yourself for quite a bit. You can heal yourself up to 20k, almost, with this setup. Next up, we have Werewolf form. I went with Berserker, and the reason I went with Berserker is because in PvP, you want to shred people. You just want to decimate them. So this gives you a greater chance of doing that. And as you can see, when you go into Werewolf form, your max stamina is increased by 30%. So that 35k just shoots really high, and your health as well. So moving on to the back bar, we have Focused Aim. We have this here for the Minor Fracture, mainly, and for sniping people out of stealth. Like when we're sneaking, we can snipe people and get a decent amount of damage off.
and then it applies that minor fracture. So really helps. Next we have Venom Arrow. I like using Venom Arrow in PvP, especially against casters, because if you hit them while they're casting, it sets them off balance and it stuns them for 3 seconds. So they have to break free out of it most of the time, which causes them to use stamina, and then they can't dodge roll and stuff. You can keep a caster locked down pretty well. Next up we have Razor Caltrops. Really, really good for PvP because it reduces movement speed while they're in it, and it just does damage over time. Next ability we have on our bar is Reflective Plate. I don't have anything to reduce immobilizations or make me immune to them, so that's why I have this here. It also reflects up to 4 projectiles, which is kind of nice. Then we have Hardened Armor. This gives us a little damage shield, but it also gives us Major Ward and Major Resolve, increasing physical and spell resistance. And like I said, a 7% damage shield to our max health, based on our max health for 3.4 seconds. Nice way to just get some damage off of us, and it helps keep us alive a little better. And then we have Flawless Dawnbreaker back here. The reason I have Flawless Dawnbreaker back here is for the 5% weapon damage. When you're on the bow bar, you want damage. So, because you're going to be at ranged, and anytime you can hit them for greater damage, that's good. But it also is a great way to get get a group of enemies together. Hit them with that Dawnbreaker, it hits them all. Alright, now that we've seen the skills, let's go over the werewolf abilities, so you guys can see those. So starting with the top, of course, Berserker. Like I said, this just does a lot of damage. A lot of bleed damage, so that's why I chose it. Next, we have Brutal Pounce. This does a lot of damage, and it damages nearby enemies. Nice in PvP, especially if you hit a clump of a group of enemies together. Next, we have Hiracine's Fortitude. This just heals us for a lot when we use the Howl. And then we have Ferocious Roar. This roar terrifies 6 nearby enemies, making them fear and run away, and they're set off balance, so you can get more damage against them. And then Howl of Agony is a really powerful one. This one deals 30% more damage to enemies that are feared, so you want to use this and then the Howl of Agony right afterwards. Next up we have Claws of Anguish. This just applies Major Defile, so it reduces people's healing by 36%, and as you can see, it also gives you health recovery by 36%. Makes you really, really survivable. Excuse me. And then, of course, make sure you get all the passives for the werewolf. I would go over them all, but not something I want to talk about right at the second. So, but make sure you do get all the passives, especially once you have werewolf, you get Devour, and Devour is definitely way better now than it's ever been in the past. So now that we've seen that, let's go ahead and take a look at our CP. I'm not really familiar, guys, again, with PvP setup, so I just went with one that I felt would work the best. Starting with the Red Tree, we have 66 in Ironclad, reducing damage taken from direct damage attacks. You take a lot of direct damage in PvP, so 66 will really help you out. You can take it up to 81 if you want to. Next, we have 1 into Spell Shield. This just gives us a little bit more spell resistance, and I had a few points left over I couldn't place anywhere, so I chose here and Heavy Armor Focus. 40 into Resistance. This gives you a 1k crit resist, and the rest comes from your armor. Moving on, we have 32 in a Hardy and 32 in Elemental Defender. These just give you reduced damage from all sorts of things. 40 into Thick Skin, reducing damage over time. Effects like bleeds, poisons, that kind of stuff. And then moving over here, we have 21 into Expert Defender because you do get hit by a lot of light and heavy attacks, so having a good reduction from it will help you out. And then 27 into Quick Recovery, giving us some healing received, and then that 1 point into Heavy Armor Focus. Moving on to the Green Tree, we have 56 in the Warlord. You do break free a lot in PvP, so this gives you the ability to do that with a reduced cost. Then 35 in the Sprinter, reducing our sprint costs. 43 into Mooncalf and 43 into Tenacity. These just give us a way of getting resources back on our heavy attacks and our recovery. You want a lot of recovery in PvP. 21 into Befoul. This increases the effect of Major Defile. We have that on our wolf form, so I figured it would be best to have it here. 56 into Tumbling, reducing our dodge roll, and then 2 into Shadow Word, just to give us a little bit of block cost reduction. We don't really need that much. 43 into Bless. This gives us increased healing received, or healing done from ourselves, so when we use our Howl, we get greater heals. Moving on over here, we have 25 into Physical Weapon Expert. We are a werewolf, so we do a lot of light and heavy attacks. Beef that damage up. And then 40 into Master at Arms, because most of our werewolf attacks are considered direct damage, so boosting that helps as well. Moving on to the Blue Tree, we have 43 into Mighty, increasing physical poison disease damage by 10%. 40 into Thaumaturge, increasing damage done with damage over time effects by 16%. You don't do a lot of damage over time over here. It's more about burst, but having a little bit of extra damage over time helps, especially in werewolf form. And then 40 into Precise Strikes. This increases our critical damage and critical heals. We don't need a lot into it, so I figured 40 was enough. Then the rest is into Piercing, which gives us a 26k penetration, so it kind of helps us in doing damage in PvP. And that is the build. Now I'm gonna go ahead and transform into werewolf just to show you guys like how beefy this thing gets. So here you go. You can see 45k stamina, 25k health with a 4k weapon damage. This thing is a beast in PvP. And you get 30 seconds of it, and when you sprint, like I said, you have so much stamina that you can sprint pretty quick to get around, which is really good for PvP. And then of course if you need to do other things, you can. So but yeah, that's pretty much the werewolf build for PvP. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I know I'm not the greatest at making PvP builds, and I'm pretty sure you guys are going to point that out to me. Like, I could have picked better sets, that kind of stuff. But if there's something you want to change about the build, feel free to. That's what builds are. Builds are just here to give you an idea of something you might want to play, and if you don't like something about it, feel free to change it, especially when it comes to my builds, because I'm not perfect, so... And I would love to see what you guys come up with on your own accord too. So, but that's pretty much it for the werewolf PvP build, guys. Like I said, I hope you guys like it. Like I said, I've never really done one. I took the general census of what I got from a lot of other PvPers and just kind of put it into the build to kind of come up with something that I thought would work out really well and be really good for PvP. So, again, let me know what you guys think. Other than that, thanks for watching. If you guys like this video, you guys can hit that like button. If you guys want to see more videos by me, you can hit that subscribe button. I won't be doing a lot of PvP builds in the future, just to let you know. I'm going to release a few, but not a lot. I do plan on it, but it's going to be after I've had some more experience with working with the build. So, but yeah, so if you guys like this, again, like button, subscribe. Other than that, thanks for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and this guy might see you in game. Bye.